Okay, I think we've got a bunch of people in so far, so we're going to start. Welcome to our virtual river cruise this afternoon. Thank you all for being here. Excited to talk about river cruising today, and especially AmaWaterways, because many of you know there are a lot of river cruise companies out there, and not all of them are the same. Is one of my personal favorites, and there's many reasons why, but it's the company that I recommend most for my clients because I know that they'll be happy and I know that Ama will take care of them. So if everyone is welcome to put their video on, if you'd like to turn that on, you can turn that on in your toolbar on the left. Should be, I think, on the left over near audio. I have everyone muted right now. If you have questions, we also have there's a chat box where you can, again, on your toolbar, where you can put in questions and we'll try to answer them as we go along, or stop or wait till the end, however it works. Okay. Sorry, just getting everything set. Okay. A little about me. I'd like to introduce myself for some of the people on here who are not my clients that are new. Welcome to you. I'm Lori Foster. I'm a travel advisor and owner of Dream Vacations Luxury Travel Associates. I started in the travel industry 25 years ago, and I've been back now for the last maybe 12 years to back full time. And I love river cruising, so I'm really excited about the presentation today. So again, any questions, just put them in the chat box. Okay, there's something that's so peaceful for anyone who has been on a river cruise before about just gliding along the waterways of the river, watching the beautiful little towns go by. Few pictures to start with of my last river cruise was last year, March of 2019 on the Danube. We sailed with one of the co-owners of AmaWaterways, Christine Karst. She's on the left in the green. It was over St. Patrick's Day, and we had a great celebration on board. And then the other picture on the right, that's the iconic river cruise picture that you see all the time everywhere. It's the Parliament building in Budapest at night. And it's you go up on the top deck and you go out and you do what's called an illuminations cruise. It's beautiful. And it was chilly that night, you can tell by the hat. Another fun picture, the one on the left, these are the twin balconies that Ama is known for, and that my guest Richard, who I will be introducing in a moment, will tell us a little bit more about. And then on the right, the picture that I've wanted for, I don't know, maybe 20 years, just that, again, that iconic view of the Parliament. And it's something I've always dreamed about and finally got to do it last year on my Ama river cruise. Okay, so with us today, I have a guest. His name is Richard Bravo, and he's the business development manager for AmaWaterways for Southern California. And he's going to help us by giving us a little more information about Ama. So Richard, welcome, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that introduction. So let me...
Yeah, I'm going to stop sharing and allow you to, or did you just go right over?
I think I did. Yeah, how's
Good.
that?
Okay. Yep, perfect. Go to presentation. There you go.
All right. Perfect. So thank you once again for that introduction, for sharing some of those things on the, what your experience was like also. And you were there again with our, two of my colleagues, my boss, Christine Karst, who's absolutely amazing, one of our owners, her husband, Rudy, and then a gentleman named Gary Murphy. There are three owners, just a wonderful team to work with. And then Diane, it looks like I was in that picture as well.
Diane also is with us. Yeah, they sailed the week with us.
So one of my colleagues out there in Florida, but as Lori was sharing, river cruising is just an amazing way to travel. Funny enough, we've been in the industry about the same amount of time. I've just came upon 26 years this year, held a number of different roles, with different companies and different capacities. And I just love travel. Once travel kind of gets in your blood, it's really a hard thing to step away from. But I can tell you, having worked for some different, other travel suppliers, as well as just being on the side of like where Lori's at, river cruising, I have to say, honestly, is one of the best ways to travel. It's an intimate experience. It's up close and personal. as much as I love ocean cruising, what I love about river cruising is that it's, again, it's a bit more, intimate. I may overuse some of these words. I'll apologize, but it's just a great way
Excuse
to
me.
travel. This
It's all
town that
right.
we're in right here is actually the town of Passau, located on the Danube River. There's actually three rivers that you can see right from this particular image that run through it. And you can even see the way the colors kind of all come together as they're running through and kind of all merging there in the Danube. But I just want to point that out because every step of the way there's going to be unique things that we're going to be learning. Our cruise managers on board are going to be giving you some history lessons, I think, doing some storytelling along the way. So I'll try to pull some of those things out as I move through the presentation. And talk briefly just about Rudy and Christine and Gary Murphy. But one thing I'd like to share about them, well, first of all, we actually just came upon 18 years as a company. July 1st, we celebrated 18 years. Rudy, I'll share, he's actually been dubbed the godfather of river cruising, and for a very good reason, I might add. It was actually back in 1993 that he was actually the VP of product development for what became another river cruise line, Uniworld. It was actually the year that they dredged the Main-Danube Canal, making it possible to sail all the way from the North Sea through the continent of Europe, all the way down to the Black Sea. And Rudy, having grown up in Vienna, the rivers are very near and dear to him. He recognized this as an opportunity. So he got Uniworld to start building out the river cruise product. He then joined another river cruise company, I think most of you have heard of, Viking River Cruises, as their first president. And then again, 18 years ago with Christine and Gary Murphy's father, who since passed away, Jimmy Murphy, and they started AmaWaterways. So I just think that's an interesting bit of a history I wanted to share with you as well. This next slide that we're looking at, I chose this one. I mean, there's a million I could have chosen, but I chose this one just because it shows how calm the waters are that we sail through. There's land on either side at all time. The ships, I want to make clear, were not designed to be the destination. I love ocean cruising, please don't misunderstand me, but a lot of the ships in ocean cruising are designed to be a part of that destination. Some of them might have the large malls, or they might have the big theaters, or even those wonderful slides outside by the pool. These ships are really designed to be your luxury floating hotel. We are sailing to and through the continent of Europe, through all these different countries. At no time are we in international waters. We're always going to be within the country boundaries along the way. In some ports, we may literally pull up and where you can step right off onto those cobblestone streets. Great amenities on board, a number of different things to choose from. The meals are amazing, the service is amazing. I always like to tell everybody, and I say this truthfully, there are some other really wonderful river cruise partners in the industry, some that I just mentioned. But what I do also like to point out, I'm very proud, is that we've won more awards than any of the river cruise lines. So there's a few things that I'll point out along the way that I think really stand out. The crew, so not only from the hotel manager to the folks in the restaurant that are serving you, to the people behind the scenes that you may never see the entire cruise. Our cruise managers, though, are really the VIP guest when you're on board. I mean, they're the ones that are the most knowledgeable. They're there to make sure everybody's having the best time. If there's any sort of challenges and things, they're the ones to address it. But more importantly, they are going to be the ones that are engaging with you. They're the ones that are going to be doing the storytelling along the way when you travel through places like the Rhine Gorge along the Rhine River, pointing out history and stories about all these different fairy tale castles that you're passing by, these steep hillside vineyards, just all the stories related to the area, in addition to the cuisine and even some of the wines and things that we're going to be passing through. What I'd like to share also about a cruise manager is that in the short time that I've been with AmaWaterways, I've heard a number of times where people say, I was on board a couple of years ago, or I was on board last year. We love that experience so much. We want to lead a group next year, but we don't want to go unless we know we get Maddie as our cruise manager. So they build those sort of strong relationships to the point where we have a place we can send those requests. It's actually the gentleman here in the green sweater. His name is Wade. So if we get this type of request, we send them to Wade. And when he's building out their schedules, he does his very best to make sure he can accommodate those, to tie those with those group requests.
Richard, I'd like to just, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, I'm sorry.
please.
Finish that. I wanted to add about the cruise manager. Finish what you were saying.
Yeah. No, please go. I was done with
No,
that.
they are. Martina was on my last AMA cruise, was the cruise manager, and she was, I mean, amazing. There's no other words that I can say about it. One of the most memorable parts was when we were going through the Iron Curtain, and she grew up in that area, and we were all sitting up on the top deck here, like in the picture, and we were going through, and it was a beautiful day in March. It was warm, and she told us the whole story about growing up behind the Iron Curtain and just the way it was for her as a child growing up, and what it means for her now to have that freedom. So you really get to know these cruise managers, and there are things that you'll never forget. They're wonderful.
Exactly.
It makes a
Exactly.
big difference.
It really does. It really does. And the other unique part on that, not to belabor the cruise managers, but it is a big part of the experience. They'll also join our guests before the cruise and after the cruise. We're the only river cruise line that does that for our guests. So you're able to build those relationships before you've even stepped on board. So they're there to make recommendations, make suggestions, and then they'll join you even after the cruise if you're going to stay on a bit longer. So I'm glad you shared that, Lori, because that's really important to know. This next slide right here, twin balcony staterooms. We were the first river cruise line to introduce the twin balcony staterooms. In fact, our owner, Rudy Schreiner, is an architect by trade. So all the ships that we own on the waterways, he's designed. This was his dream child right here, creating the twin balcony staterooms where you get a nice French balcony on one side and then a full step out balcony to the opposite side. The really nice thing that you have to kind of consider is, if you're traveling in the middle of winter when it's going to be quite cool, or in the middle of summer when it could be really warm, you get the best of both worlds. So you can set the room temperature to that comfortable setting that you like, have that nice little sitting area with the French balcony side. The windows, which open, of course, are all the way up against the railings. So you're going to get wonderful views all from within your stateroom. But when the weather is perfect and you want to step outside for that coffee in the morning or a glass of wine in the evening, you then have the full step out balcony. I'll also mention that if you want to stay connected, and we want all of our guests to stay connected, which is why we offer complimentary Wi-Fi, not only in the stateroom, but in every public area, you can leave your laptop at home because we have Apple computers in every one of our staterooms. So keep that in mind as well. Just to cover a few things, in terms of the public space that we have on board, the majority of our ships, and don't misunderstand me, not every ship, the majority of our ships will have a swimming pool that we see here in the picture to the right. Some of them will have like a smaller jacuzzi kind of whirlpool tub. They're all going to have a wonderful lounge area that we see in the picture to the top left here. That lounge area really kind of acts as the living room of all the guests on board the ship. It's located at the front of the ship. You get these beautiful floor-to-ceiling windows for great views, but it's also that place where maybe you don't want to go to the main dining room for breakfast. You can come up here, grab a croissant, stop at the coffee station. In the evening, the cruise manager will be giving lectures on the next day's stops and the ports of call and the different excursions. A pianist will come on board every evening playing some music. He's taking requests. Just to the front of the piano here is a bar, so you can grab yourself a drink, and it turns into a full-blown disco in the evening also, and pretty much stays open until the last person leaves the dance floor. If you're leading that active, healthy lifestyle, as most of us at least wish we could be doing, we do have a gym on board every one of our ships. And this gym that we're looking at is larger. This is on board Ama Magna. I'll speak to her. But we do have a gym on board every ship with all the same equipment you see here. We've got a dedicated health instructor on board every ship. So they're doing morning yoga, morning Pilates, morning stretches. So health and wellness is very important to us with AmaWaterways. I think everybody would agree that whenever you're traveling, the meals and the food that you taste is a big part of it, but more specifically the local regional cuisines, that's very important to us as well, of course. So we have 2 dining rooms on board every one of our ship. We have the main dining room, which I like to tell people operates as more of a progressive dining experience, meaning when you're in Budapest, as an example, you're going to find goulash on the menu. But if you still just want that steak, or if you still just want that Caesar salad, we'll have that for you as well. In terms
And the food is wonderful.
The food is wonderful, right?
One of my, that's whenever I go away, it's the food is my #1. So I can attest to that.
Completely. Yeah, it's a huge part. I would say that's one of my most favorite things as well. This is a chef's table restaurant that we're looking off to the right here. It's a specialty dining restaurant, alternative dining. You just make your reservations once you get on board, but there's no extra charge for this. This is included for all of our guests, and it's this wonderful 6-course meal. But within each of those courses, you get a selection. So it's not a set 6-course meal. There's up to 4 different wine pairings located at the back of the ship. Imagine traveling in the evening. It's sunset. They're bringing out this amazing meal. You see the chef and his team behind the glass window station preparing and plating the foods and bringing that out to you. It's just an amazing experience. The drinks, we are not all inclusive with the drinks, but we're very generous with the drinks. You let me know if I'm misstating this, Lori. Very often you'll find a number of guests near the end of the evening in the dining room kind of covering up their glass so they don't pour anymore. But
Yeah,
they're,
very
you know,
generous with the regional wines as well. All the wine selections were very good. We never really felt that we weren't getting enough.
that's right. That's right. And regional is a key word too. So we're going to serve regional premium wines. We're not going to be that company that gives you complimentary house wines and charges you more for that more desirable wine. We're going to give you that really nice wine that's regional to the areas we're traveling in. And that's going to be updated with every stop along the way. The last part I'll mention really quick is this Le Chêne de Rôtissière. This is the world's oldest, or certainly one of the world's oldest culinary societies, dates back to 1248. It was started in France, and what it basically speaks to is the quality of the food, the presentation of the food, the preparation of the food, the locally sourcing of food, and the ingredients along the way. And you'll hear this directly out of the lips from Gary, our owner. We have a freezer on board, but that's really just for the ice cream. Everything else we're picking up along the way is fresh and being served each day. So it's not frozen and then kind of unpacking it and cooking it. So it's always going to be the freshest ingredients.
And one thing I want to add also is on the larger ocean ships, the food is in the dining room is the same. Here, like you just said, when they go out and get the regional ingredients, you get, if you want, to taste some of the regional dishes that many times you don't do on ocean cruising. So I think that's really nice.
That's right. And one more small note to tie it back to just the service on board. I have a friend who actually traveled a couple years ago with their mother, and before they knew that she was an employee of AmaWaterways, I think it was literally like the first day on board, there was a conversation at the dinner table about white asparagus, and she had never heard of white asparagus. And one of the attendants overheard it, didn't make a comment, didn't say anything. But the next day, of course, white asparagus appears on her plate. So it's those little things that they do to really just go above and beyond what anybody would even expect. The shore excursions is something else to really keep in mind when if you're shopping around or kind of trying to compare some different companies out there. We'll include 4, even up to 5 shore excursions at every port of call. We break them up into what we call our gentle, our regular, and our active. So the gentle will be, I always use the example if I were taking my parents who move around just a little bit slower, but they're still wanting to get out there, taking some highlights. The regular is going to be just a little bit faster pace, maybe not avoiding some steps, whereas the active is going to be like the guided cycling tour that we see here, or maybe even a guided hiking tour through the Black Forest. So those are some choices. And then we have our late risers. So I'm the early bird. I want to get out, have my coffee, and get going. But we recognize it's holidays. Some people want to have a little bit more of a leisurely start so they can have breakfast, enjoy their coffee, sip it a bit longer, and then start a little bit more mid-morning. I kind of talked about the guided hiking tours and the bicycles. While we use them for guided cycling tours, you can still reserve them, head out into town for a few hours, just enjoy it, and then bring them back. But we get a very active audience on board. I mentioned that before. We have some guests that in days where we're hitting 2 ports of call that will bike from one port to the next port. In some cases, it could be as little as 20 miles all the way up to even like 34, 35 miles too. So these are, again, just options for you for things to consider. Alma Magna, on this next slide, I mentioned it a little bit earlier. You can see how large this ship is. I love this picture because it really just shows you exactly what the difference is. The ship to the left would be pretty typical of what most river cruise lines are. I did mention Viking earlier. Viking has their long ships that are the same width as the ship next to us, but they're about the same length as the Alma Magna that we're looking at right here. Their ships hold a capacity of about 193 guests at maximum, whereas the Alma Magna has just 3 more guests on board, and it's twice the size of that. So the idea in building Alma Magna was to create more public space, more personal space, more features on board. I mentioned earlier that we have 2 restaurants on board all of our ships, with the exception of Alma Magna, where we have 4 restaurants on board, and there's no additional charge for these extra restaurants. We have the gym at the back of here. We have 2 libraries on board. We have a cinema room on board, a much larger sun deck, as you can see. The average suite on board all of our ships goes up to somewhere about 275, even up to 350 square feet. We do have that on board Alma Magna, but we also have an owner suite, which is 420 square feet, and a grand suite, which goes up to 710 square feet. So I mentioned that because I know there may be some ocean cruisers out there that have maybe not done river cruising or maybe kind of open to it, but have been, just haven't done it yet for whatever reason, this would be the one that you want to transition to because you're going to be used to the more public space and just some more
Especially
amenities.
now during, social distancing, you've got that. It's almost like that ship was made for it, the Magna.
Exactly. Absolutely, absolutely too. So great example with that as well too. And I'll share a little bit more on some of those things as well. Um, Pushing through here then, we know there's a lot of single travelers also. So what we do with our single guest is we have an entry level rate, which is just 25% more in our category C or D staterooms. We're not going to just charge them double rate for traveling in our entry level. The twin balcony staterooms we looked at earlier, that would be just 50% more. And only in the instance of traveling in a suite would it be a full 100% additional. But beyond that, the first evening they're on board, we'll have a special singles cocktail reception so they can meet some other single guests and start, kind of knowing who those other folks are. We'll have a dinner with the captain the first evening. And then at every evening in the main dining room, we set up all the seats with an odd number of seats so that at no point during the cruise are they going to feel like they're taking away a seat for some other couples that may be sitting together also. So there's a lot of thought that goes into literally every detail that we put together for every guest. I want to talk about the destinations also. I could spend forever talking about this. So Lori and I agreed we'll just kind of give some highlights here. But to talk about a few things, Asia and Africa, a couple of our exotic destinations. I thought I had one here on Egypt, but I may have mistakenly not included that.
I have one, I think.
Or
I might. It's just a small itinerary, but we'll talk about it. Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
But,
we'll save on that then. So,
well, I mean, speak about it. I just have the picture.
Okay. So I'll talk about Egypt then. This is the newest addition to our portfolio of exotic destinations. We launched it in April, although she doesn't start sailing until September of next year, but it is the most popular trip right now, hands down. 70% already sold out for next year from September through December. So if you're interested, please reach out to Lori. She knows how to look into rates and get the best offer for you. It's a wonderful 7-night round trip sailing from Luxor with an included 3 pre-nights at the Four Seasons in Cairo, as well as a single post-night stay in Cairo. In addition to all the wonderful stops along the way, there's an added optional excursion over to Abu Simbel. And then beyond that, knowing that you're traveling so far, if you want to spend some time in Israel, if you want to spend some time in Jordan or even the UAE, we've got some packages you can add on there as well. Moving over to Asia for a moment, the Mekong River, sailing between Vietnam and Cambodia on a wonderful 7-night sailing as well. A lot of history, a lot of, just from the wars to the culture to the cuisine, just the people, some of the nicest people on the face of the earth if you've never been to Southeast Asia. But we reuse a lot of words here just because we can't come up with any other words. But when I use the word immersive, what I hear back in terms of feedback from a number of guests that have done a number of different cruises say this is one of the most immersive experiences. Some of the things that we'll include might be dinner at a local family's home in their stilted home, or taking some school supplies to a local school where you can meet the teacher and interact with some of the students. It's just an amazing experience. You can stretch that 7-day cruise all the way out to a 16-day itinerary with a number of different options from Bangkok to Halong Bay, some additional time in all the surrounding area. Africa, we have the Chobe River, which is a wonderful but simple 4-night safari cruise. But once again, you can build this all the way out to 18 days. We've got a gorilla trek through Rwanda. Down in South Africa, you can spend additional time in Johannesburg, Robben Island, Table Mountain, take the old Rovo's steam train up to Victoria Falls to spend some time. And then, of course, a traditional safari. So a lot of things you can do to really maximize your time there. Our main, the majority of all of our trips, of course, are on the continent of Europe. And if you're wondering what are the most popular itineraries, the Danube River, which operates, for looking at this map, kind of coming out of the Black Sea in the lower right side, making its way between Romania and Bulgaria all the way up to Germany. Kind of think of the upper and the lower Danube, the upper being the most popular. It's between Amsterdam, Netherlands, all the way down to Basel, Switzerland. That's connected by the Main River, those two rivers, the Danube and the Rhine. So that's a stretch as well. But the most inventory of ships that we have on those two rivers, Lori was talking earlier just about like right now with COVID and the extra space on board Alma Magna. One of the things that we put in place right now is that we actually have a single ship that's sailing right now in Germany. It's actually being chartered by a German company. And one of the things, I'll share a bit more, but just to share this brief point, is that we're not allowing any more than 100 guests on board, period. I think the EU has put out restrictions, say no more than 70%, which would be about 110 guests on average, but we've opted to go with just 100 guests on board. So there's going to be plenty of room and plenty of space for social distancing on board. As you move further west in the, looking at this map, down the Moselle River, the Seine, the Rhone, the Saône, and down in the Bordeaux region, a bit more intimate on some of the waterways, not as much inventory that you're going to find here also. One interesting point that I'll mention about the Bordeaux region on the Dordogne and Garonne River is that unlike all the other rivers in Europe that we travel on, there are no locks on either of these rivers here that we sail on. These are all tidal waters. So the perspective, as Lori can attest, just from any river cruise ship from the water. Earlier, she made a comment on Budapest, on the illumination of lights as you sail through that area. The perspective from the water is amazing, but when it drops 10 feet or it goes up another 8 feet, the perspective changes, even a lot more from that too. So that one's pretty neat. And then we have the Douro River, so popular that in 2018, we added a second ship. So now we have 2 ships sailing on the Douro. With every single sailing, majority of them being 7 nights, we'll always offer some pre or post night stays for our guests as well. 2 other things that I want to mention, themed departures. We have a number of wine themed departures. This is where we bring along a North American wine host, maybe a wine owner, maybe a winemaker. We bring them on board and they're basically the VIP guests for everybody on board that particular sailing. They're there to, give different discussions on how the old world wines differ from the new world wines, leading some excursions to centuries old vineyards. In some cases, we're able to meet with those wine owners and listen to them give a lecture and do a wine tasting with them. There's wine pairings that we do on board as well. It's an amazing experience. What's nice with these themed departures, though, is that everything that we put in place for those is all in addition to what we offer on any normal cruise. So no way are we pulling things out to accommodate these things. We're including everything we normally would and then adding these extra benefits on top of it. So this is a really amazing experience. I just want to include this next slide just for visual because I'm impressed by it, to be honest. One of the things that they're doing too with these discussions is telling you about how the Moselle Rieslings differ from the Alsatian Rieslings. But you can see in all these areas that we travel to, all the different variations of vineyards and different wines that we're going to have the opportunity to taste. And so again, we'll have those old world wines plus some of those new world wine experiences as well. The Christmas markets, which I say you have to put on your list. You have to move this to the top of your list. If you've never had a chance to experience a European Christmas market where they originated, you really have to be able to experience this. They first started in Dresden, Germany back in 1449, somewhere about there. So centuries and centuries ago. And when we joined these, we're really kind of being, we're kind of walking into their world, meaning that they didn't set these up to attract tourism. When they first started offering these, it was to sell gifts. It was to go and buy some sweaters that you needed. It was to go and buy some ornaments, but it was for the locals in those towns. And of course, it's since grown since then, but some of the best ones you're going to find are going to be in Germany, some of the ones along the Rhine, Strasbourg, even in France, down in Budapest, a number of amazing stops along the way. We offer them exclusively on the Danube, on the Rhine, and portions of the Main River, but just some beautiful things to see along the way. This next slide here, I know it looks pretty busy, but it's a wonderful collage of all the things you're going to be able to experience from, if you see the little Santas up in the top right, if you can get a close enough look, you'll notice that there's a little, all the Santas kind of have like a little opening in their mouth. That's because you can take them apart. You can put some incense in there and light it, and it kind of gives the illusion as though they're smoking. You have your glue vine, if you're sailing like over Christmas, of course, and even some days outside of that, we serve a traditional goose. There's the stollen bread. There's the Black Forest cake that we serve. So just it's a magical experience, and you're just on sensory overload. Some of the other things that I think are important as I kind of winding up that. But even before I jump into this, Lori, is there anything that you want to share on some of those points?
No, I mean, I can't agree more about the Christmas markets. It's such a special time of year. And many times I have clients say, well, isn't it cold in December? Yes, it's chilly, but if there's any time to be bundled up and to, wear your hat and your gloves, it's at a Christmas market in Europe.
That's right, absolutely. And my wife is sitting not too far from me. When you said that question about being cold, she whispered, "Yes, it can be cold." So you definitely want to bundle up a little bit too. But we were there at least. I think it was about the second week of November last year. We were there just as they were setting up the Christmas markets. I would say the temperatures ranged on average from like upper 40s up to lower 60s. So it's cold, but I would say
And
it's
you want it to be cold for Christmas time, so
I
that's what's
do.
nice.
Yeah,
And as you know, the markets in Europe are very different than ours here. I mean, it's all handcrafted, all homemade things. It's not like some of the types of markets that we have here.
that's right. That's right. So kind of moving on then to sort of what the state of the business is, how viable is a company like AmaWaterways? How can I protect my travel investment? What's it going to look like when you are able to sail again in this new world? Protecting your travel investment, we have something called Travel Waiver Plus, and this is basically something that allows you to protect the full investment of your trip. You can cancel up to 24 hours prior to departure. It doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get a full monetary value because at certain points, depending when you cancel, there is going to be a certain percentage that you'd be penalized on. But in a case of canceling, where you might be canceling for a non-covered reason and you'd lose, say, 35% as an example, rather than losing that full amount completely, we would retain that amount as a future cruise credit for you. So when you're ready to travel again, we've got that amount on file for you. And you can cancel again all the way up to 24 hours prior to departure. The other part that I'll speak to is, regarding the viability of our company, we are financially strong. We recognize there's a number of different suppliers out there, not only in the travel industry, but just across the board that are suffering for, with everything happening right now. I can share that AmaWaterways has not let any of their sales team go, none of the folks inside as well. All of our ships, including 3 new ships that are being built and delivered next year, are completely paid for in advance. All of our ships are completely paid off. We're free, so we are not going anywhere. In addition to that, we've also got some partnerships with some strong financial backers, the Puzo family, Rothschild Group, and a number of others. So I think that's just important to know. It's a fair question for people to be asking these days. In terms of what things look like when we go back on the water, I did mention a little bit earlier that we actually have a ship that's sailing. It's the Ama Christina. It's the one and only ship right now. What's nice about that is that all those plans that we've been putting in place now for the last 4+ months, up until 5 weeks ago when we were able to start sailing, we're able to actually put into practice now. So our German friends were actually kind of doing a bit of a dress rehearsal for us to see how this is all working. The response has been amazing. They love it. There's been a number of folks that have already rebooked a second time. We're doing 6-night, 5-night sailings on the Rhine, on the Rhine, 2 different itineraries there. Something that our crew did, this is not official, but I just want to share it anyways because I thought it was interesting. They were kind of wondering, how long on average are our guests wearing their masks? We know that's a concern that people are thinking of, like, I don't want to wear my mask the entire time that I'm traveling. So for this 6-day, 5-night cruise, based on their studies, they found out that on average guests are wearing their mask probably somewhere between 22 to 25 minutes on average. So if you've gone to a restaurant anytime recently, you know that when you walk into the restaurant, which takes a few seconds, you sit down, you take off the mask. If you get up to use the restroom, when you leave the restaurant, you take it off. But otherwise, that time you're sitting down in the restaurant or you're sitting up on the sun deck, you're not wearing your mask the majority of the time. When you're in the stateroom, you're not wearing your mask either. When you're out on our shore excursions, all of our guests have this audio box headset, so they're not having to be huddled around the director that's going around and leading them. They can be 40, 50 feet away, still listening to everything that's being shared and taking some pictures too. So plenty of safe social distancing outside. So these are important things to note, that in this new world of what it's going to be like. And these are the steps that AmaWaterways has taken. Things like a buffet, we're no longer offering on board. We've upgraded to hospital grade disinfectants. I can tell you that we were frequently already cleaning our ships. That has been kicked up like to just an ongoing cycle of cleaning all the public areas on a regular basis. So our guests will be safe, and we want our crew safe as well, of course, too. So here's another slide from just recently. These are some of our German guests that we're looking at right here. You see that we have the plexiglass window up between the different sitting areas in the lounge area. Non-obstructive, right? You sit down, you take off your mask, you get these amazing views still, and you can cheers the people that are sitting behind you as well and have some good conversation. Colors of Provence. I'm going to turn it over in just a moment to Lori, but this is an amazing itinerary that we offer. We're highlighting this particular date because Lori is looking to pull together, or has pulled together, a group that we're going to be promoting. So Lori, I'm going to turn it back to you just for a minute to talk a bit more on this.
Okay, thank you, Richard. Okay, let's give us a moment.
Sure.
Okay, do you see my screen still, Richard?
No, I see all
Not
the
yet?
squares at this
Okay.
point. Yeah.
Do you see it yet?
There we go. Yes.
Okay.
Perfect.
Okay. Yeah, so like Richard had just mentioned, we do have special rates and amenities on the Colors of Provence. Um, and sorry, let me just regroup. So what we, sorry, give me 1 second. I just have to get this going. Okay. Got it. Okay. That's what I'm waiting for. Okay. So we do actually have October 7th, and I will send this out. We do have another webinar that's specifically for this, for anyone who might be interested to learn a little more about this itinerary, because like we had mentioned, we have special amenities, we have special pricing on this specific cruise. It starts in Avignon, and just a really brief overview of it. You're sailing through the Rhone Valley, so picture some of the legendary vineyards that you will be cruising past as you're on the ship. You know, sipping some of the local vintages in Beaujolais or Côte du Rhône, or my favorite, some rosés from Tavel. So, I mean, there are just a few that you will be seeing. If you're not 100% into wine, there's many other things to do. It's not just a wine cruise. There are things like visiting truffle farms, searching for black diamond truffles, how olive oil is made. If you're into history, Avignon was the center of the Catholic Church in the 14th century. It was named the City of Popes. In Arles, you have Roman ruins. Van Gogh, there are Van Gogh tours for artists. Just a few others that we also have special amenities. And again, there are any dates that you can book, but these are special dates where we do have pricing and amenities that you can't get just by booking them direct. So Christmas markets on the Danube. Again, Richard had mentioned this about the Ama Magna, which is the very large ship that they do have. And again, very special Christmas markets. And I believe that there's free air for a certain amount of time on this one as well.
That's correct. That's right. Through September on select dates.
September 30th, or I believe, right?
Right.
Okay. Also, in March, I'm sorry, that before was December of 2021. We also have Riches of the Mekong, which you had spoke about, Richard, and that one is, again, another 7-night in March of 2022. I think you pretty much went over what's important about this one. And I've spent a lot of time in Southeast Asia, and I can say exactly what you said, Richard. The people are pretty much the number one, what I thought, some of the most humble and welcoming people that I've ever met. The palaces, the temples, the food was, I mean, that was, I think, one of my favorite things. There's pre and posts, and you can either do it or a combination in Hanoi, Ha Long Bay, Siem Reap, or Ho Chi Minh City, Saigon, all beautiful cities that I've fallen in love with. Egypt, again, like Richard had mentioned, one of the most popular, and I believe that you were considering extending the season because it was filling up so quickly. Am I correct on that?
This is true. Yeah, this is true.
Yeah.
I don't know that we've made that decision yet. If so, I haven't caught that, but I know that they've absolutely looked at that because it is so popular. That's right.
And again, I'm not going to go over everything you had said, but it's 11 nights with the 7-night cruise, and then the pre and posts in either Dubai, Israel, Jordan. Again, another 3 places that I absolutely love. So you can make these, just the cruise only, or add some pre or post or both, depending on the amount of time that you have. This one again is October 2022, and while it may seem like forever until you get there, these are filling up, and I think Richard said 70% of them are full now, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay, so a little bit more for some of the people that are not on every week, let's say who we are. So Dream Vacations, we're part of World Travel Holdings, which is the largest cruise agency and leisure travel agency in the United States. we own some of these brands up towards the top. These are other travel brands that we do own. And then the ones towards the bottom are ones that we provide all the travel for. So for example, like Marriott Rewards or United Vacations, we're the ones, World Travel Holdings are the ones that book the cruises for them. So what this does is it gives us tremendous buying power with cruise lines and suppliers just due to the sheer volume of the business that we do. Many people who are here know that there is a benefit to using a travel advisor. Some people, though, actually don't realize what's so important about it. And one of the best examples is what was happening with the coronavirus. You've seen the stories of the 7-hour hold times to be disconnected, people stuck, never waiting 7 hours and not being able to talk to anyone. I had my phone on 24 hours and I made sure that all my clients could get in touch with me and I got them home. Also, another thing now for the places that you can travel, there's a lot of travel authorizations you need, COVID tests, paperwork, and every country is different. That's something that I keep track on every day and why it's so important to have someone who knows what they're doing be able to help you. Another thing that's important is we listen and everyone is different. So what your friend likes or what your neighbor likes might not be something that you would, specifically like. So I listen to what my clients are interested in, what they like, and I'm able to suggest to them itineraries or things that I know that they will like. And then again, it's also about who you know and who you deal with. Richard here is always here for me to make sure that my clients have a wonderful experience. And if there is anything wrong, it's, I know who I can call to make sure that things are right. Special offers. So right now, is offering up to, on some itineraries, 1,500 savings per stateroom and free air on a lot of itineraries. They're also offering a $300 onboard credit for select departures. And then specifically for attendees here today, an additional savings of 100 per person for any bookings by September 9th. So thank you, Richard. I appreciate that. I'm sure we all appreciate that. I've got a lot of Facebook groups, I'm sure most of you do know, but the two that I think would be important for people on this webinar today is my business page on the left is just my regular Facebook, and then I've got a right now virtual river cruising on the right-hand side. And as we get towards the end, just to let you know, I put on here the October 7th group cruise, which we are going to be talking about in France on Provence, that we just gave you a little teaser about. I've got Jamaica next week. I'm going to be in Punta Cana, so I will not have one, but the week after, we've got Jamaica, and then we've got a little South Pacific theme going with Tahiti and Fiji. And you can always check the full schedule by virtualtravelbydv.com. I think now it might be time for any questions or comments about anything that anyone has. I'll take a look. Richard, do you see the chat box?
I do hear, yes.
Hold on, I'm going to get out of sharing and go back so that we can see.
Sure.
Okay. Okay, were there any additional questions, anything specific that anyone had that we can help or answer with?
I don't see any specific questions, but maybe I wasn't speaking close enough to the microphone earlier, so I apologize for the person that left that note. So my apologies there. But if there's anything that needs to be clarified, or you just want to understand a bit more about, please let us know. Or certainly you can reach out to Lori even afterwards. But Lori, is there anything that you might want to go back and emphasize or speak a bit further?
No, I think we pretty much covered everything. I feel confident that we've got it all. So, I mean, and if there are any other questions, everyone knows how to reach me. Send me an email or give me a call, and hopefully we'll see you on the France River Cruise in October 7th. So just, a little over a month from now. I will send you the link for that if you're interested, and hopefully we'll see you on one of the Ama River Cruises.
Real soon. Absolutely. Great.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you. And thank you, everyone, and have a good evening.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.